Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Sunday morning to everybody, or whatever time and what day it is, wherever you are listening from. I am so
Everyone, good morning.
so that's me.
Sunday morning to everybody.
Okay, I gotta share that and
wherever you are listening from. I am so good morning.
So
That's
if you
me. Sunday morning to
good
everybody.
morning, I like it.
share that and
So I'm going to mute Marci just for a second to say hello, everyone. And I am so excited because one of the things that you know, having my desires manifested for the last 25 years that I've been deliberately designing my life. One of the things that, it's great having the things and the money and all that. But the things that have been the most precious to me is number one, my family and the kind of family I created and having it be so different than the family of origin that I had, and also my friends and my group of friends and having the high level of friends that I have. I remember years ago thinking, I want more depth in my relationships. And I really am so grateful for the friends that I've collected. And it's great because if you've been listening since Thursday, we had Nicole Winhofer on, then we had Sherry Salata, and then yesterday we had Lisa Nichols, and today we have Marci Shimoff. So Marci, I love you so much. You're one of my dearest friends. You're one of the women that I just absolutely, in this particular industry, look up to so much. And I'm just so grateful for you and so many different aspects about you. So I'm so glad we're going to have our conversation today.
oh, I love you. It's a two-way street. I am a super Christy groupie and I love your new book. Oh my God. I love it. I got an advance copy and I have just been so totally, you're rocking it, Christy.
Thank you, Marci.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you. So, I remember seeing Marci in The Secret, for those of you that have obviously watched The Secret, the movie, and she was one of those people that really stuck out for me and the things that she said. And I reached out to Marci because I wanted to interview her when I was doing an interview series. And so she was so gracious to be able to, let me, a nobody, just interview her when she was so busy with all these different interviews. And she was just so down to earth. And I just, from that moment on, and you were like one of the first people to promote the Quantum Success Coaching Academy back in the day. So we have had a long relationship. It's been over 10 years that we have been working together as affiliates, that we've been promoting each other, because you have your amazing Year of Miracles every year, which is an incredible program. I know we have mutual clients that are in your programs and my programs, and they go so synergistically beautifully together. And so thank you for being here.
Well, Christy, I get to brag all about you because I have to say, when my book Happy for No Reason came out, it was soon after The Secret. I probably did a gazillion and one interviews, and I couldn't remember one person from another, to be honest. And I got the most, except I was interviewed by you, and I loved your energy, and I remembered your energy. And then all of a sudden, one day, the FedEx delivery truck comes to my house, and there's this enormous plaque, and a package, and I open it up, and there is this plaque that shows Happy for No Reason on the New York Times bestseller list, and for my office, and it shows the New York Times bestseller list. We were number 2. It was highlighted, and you had the book cover, and I said, who sent me this? And then I read the note and it was you. And I'm like, oh man, do you know how to really just be a great supportive colleague and friend? So, and it's grown from there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So appreciate you. So you've been a teacher for a long time. You were actually in the chicken books, the chickens, help me out.
Soup for the Soul.
Thank
Chicken
you.
Soup for the Woman's Soul books I did. Yeah.
I'm like no, doesn't sound right. Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. So you've done a lot of work. You've been in TLC. You've been a transformational leader for quite a few decades. And you really are just amazing. And so I wanted you to come and talk about desires, because the thing is, and one of the myths that I want to break with the desire factor is that some desires are good and some desires are bad. And if the desires are, for a certain thing that's not materialistic, then that's okay. And some of the desires that are, financial or some of these things, these are not okay. And I just wanted to bust the myth that those type of desires are not okay. It's not, materialistic to want those type of things, because we are material. Everything here is material, but it's also energy. And as you know, the subtitle is How to Embrace Your Materialistic Nature to Embrace Your Full Spiritual Power. So I would love for you to share your stories of desires and what you share with your clients about attaining their desires.
Yeah. Well, our soul is embodied on this earth plane for a reason. We're here to make manifest our soul's nature. And we each have different desires for a reason. So there's a reason that I want to live, in Northern California, and you want to live somewhere else. And there's a reason that we all have different, desires. And when we follow our true heart's desires, our soul's desires, it's honoring of what it is we are here on the planet to do. And so I will tell you a story. I actually don't think I've ever shared this story. I had wanted a life partner, a husband, since the time I could remember. I mean, I would be 6 years old going, where's my husband? Where's my husband? 9 years old. Every star that I'd see, when you're supposed to wish on a shooting star,
Right.
I would wish on the shooting star to find my husband. And, I dated some wonderful men, but I knew they weren't the one for me.
The one, yeah.
And I remember I think it was probably 1996 or 7, I went on a trip to Bali with Marianne Williamson. She was leading a group on a trip to Bali, and it was this, spiritual trip. And in the mornings we would have sessions with her. In the afternoons we'd go off and explore together. And I remember raising my hand one morning and so sheepishly saying, I really want my life partner. And I know I'm not supposed to, I know I'm supposed to be super okay on my own and all of that. And I'm not supposed to have that desire. And she said, stop that right there. Actually, it was in 1998, 99. She said, you stop that right there. That desire in your heart is a legitimate, pure, lovely desire to have. And right now we are all going to put our attention and do a prayer together on you meeting that person. And Christy, a month later, I met Sergio, who's been my life partner now for 21 years.
Yeah.
And there was some big thing that broke that said, oh, it's okay. I'm meant to have that desire. That's not a bad thing. I don't have to be ashamed of it. That broke the energy. And I love that that's what you're doing in the desire factor, that you're saying, no, your desires are there for a reason. It's good that we have them. It's your alignment. It's the way that we grow into all the rest of our gifts here in life.
Yeah, exactly. And Sergio's, it was such a beautiful man. He's such a kind-hearted soul. And so, perfect match right there, right? I mean, you didn't just find, you found the guy, you found the one. And I just love that, because I was talking with Lisa Nichols yesterday, and she was saying it's like the giving yourself that permission, like leaning into that.
Yes.
And being able to say, when we say, okay, this is what I want, and it's okay for me to want that, I give myself permission, then there's no resistance, right? It's like you're in just pure alignment with it. And as I outlined the steps, or I should say the council outlined those steps in the desire factor, it's like if we're doing our inner work, the divine that gave you that, desire when you were 6 years old, right? The divine that imprinted that into you. It can tell it's Sunday. Usually I don't work on Sundays. I'm like tripping over my words. No, but the divine that gave you that desire, it's like you're co-creating now with that divine in you. But beyond, it's like, yes, your soul, yes, you're divine. It's like all the multidimensional parts of you are along in that ride. And I mean, when you think back about it, it's like, okay, you met Sergio, you had a relationship. It's been 21 years. think about who you've become in that relationship with him over those 21 years, right? It's not about having him in your bed. It's about what you've developed and who you became.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about desires. It's who you become in the process of manifesting them, and then who you become as a result of having them. That's where the real juice is. I mean, it's great to have the desire happen, but the real juice is in who you had to become. I mean, there were so many examples. I mean, I remember, you know, wanting Happy for No Reason to become a New York Times bestseller, and who I had to become for that to happen in terms of being more courageous, being willing to step in and do things that were scary for me, doing big interviews and things like that. Having a level of trusting that all will work out. And this is for any desire. I mean, it's like we have the desire and we know the outcome we want. And then there's also a level of trust and surrender. And you talk about that in the desire factor, is we also have to know this or something better. We don't know the divine plan completely.
Right.
We don't know if that's the best thing to have happen or not, And so every single time I've experienced a big desire, it has grown me into this person who has more courage, more trust, more openness, more persistence, it calls on all those qualities.
Yeah.
And hallelujah.
Well, let me ask you this, because obviously I don't think anybody saw what happened for The Secret and for all of the people that were in The Secret. Obviously, I'm friends with many, many, many of you. And I knew Bob Doyle. He's coming on in a couple of days, but I knew Bob Doyle was my friend before The Secret even came out, right? I had a book, Perfect Pictures, and Bob and I met because he was promoting my book to his, the internet just started back then, right? So he was like one of the first people online in this space. And so when I saw him in The Secret, I was like, go Bob, right? But what happened to all of you, the amount of I mean, it blew up for you. Was that something that you desired, or what was your desire that kind of fed into that? Or do you even know?
Yeah, I do actually. It's interesting. When I was 13, I went and saw a motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar. This was in 1971. And I knew that's what I was supposed to do in my life. I saw a vision that I was supposed to travel around the world speaking to large audiences. And I didn't know how it was going to come about, but I just felt that. And I will tell you, the two biggest things that propelled that came kind of out of the blue in a way. The first was the Chicken Soup for the Soul. Jack Canfield was my mentor, and I was studying self-esteem with him and teaching his self-esteem trainings. And I was really burned out. And one day, a dear friend of mine, whom you also know, Janet Atwood, said, Marci, you look terrible. You're so burned out. You need a break. And she grabbed me and took me on a 7-day silent meditation retreat. Now, Christy, I hadn't done silence for more than 2 minutes before that, but off I went. And on the fourth day of silence, in the middle of a meditation, out of the blue came Chicken Soup for the Woman's Soul. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. That's what will propel me to this next level of a global audience. So I didn't know the how. I didn't know how I was going to get there. It came to me as a divine gift. And I would say the same thing from The Secret. I did this little interview, had no idea what this was going to be or how it was going to turn out. And all of a sudden, The Secret becomes this huge thing. And I'm traveling around the world, speaking to audiences of 10,000 people in Russia and speaking in China and, everywhere. And so my experience is that we have the desire. We do the things that you outline in the desire factor, and then the universe shows up in this most mysterious way to deliver.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's just the thing, is that people get caught up in the how, and it doesn't seem like you got caught up in the how. You just kept holding that desire.
Well, I did get caught up in the how.
You did. Okay.
I did. And
And
then I had to let go. So Janet saw me like hitting my head up against the wall, trying to like break through to another level of my career, and said, no, you got to take a break. You got to go, let go. You got to go to the silent meditation retreat where you're not pounding your head against the wall. You're just taking a break. You're in a state of, I call it no tension. My 3 steps are intention, attention, and no tension. And, you're talking about in the desire factor, basically the intention step. Our desires, our intentions come from our soul, and we bring those. Now, I also think then that we need to go into attention, which are some of the steps you speak about, and then no tension, which is that trust and surrender and letting go. So you're really talking about all of those in the desire factor. And yeah, I messed up by not going into no tension. I didn't mess up. There's no mistakes, but I did like everybody does. You try really, really hard and you hold on. And then I needed to let go.
Well, see, I wanted to bring that up because so many people might see you or Sherry or, Lisa or somebody else and go, well, they've got to probably do all the steps and do it right and have it all together. And it's like all of us are human, every single one of us. And we all do that how thing, try to figure out the how, because that's what our minds do. The mind wants to know who, where, when, how much. I mean, it wants to know all of that because its job is to try to figure things out. But when you're in this place of receiving this expanded desire, this literally a vision of, a man you want to be with, or a career that you want to step into, or a family you want to create, or a trip you want to take, or a house you want to build, or whatever might be the desire, if that is that expansive, it's more expansive than we are as a human being. And our minds don't know that step. Our minds can't figure that out because it's way beyond the mind. It's come from a higher mind. And so that's where sometimes we have to go, you know what? This is not a mind job, right? This is like, I got to release the resistance of what my mind is trying to figure out because there's no way for it to know it. This is a higher potentiality situation. And I got to do the steps, right? I got to align. I got to focus my own attention, my own thoughts, my own vision on what I want instead of what I don't.
Yep.
Right. I have to expect it to happen. It's like joyfully expecting it, that this is going to happen. Don't know when, don't know who, don't know how, but I'm joyfully putting my energy in it. I want to feel the having of it, because as I feel the having of it, I'm vibrating in the actual presence of it, the vibrational resonance of it, instead of the lack of it. Right. I'm going to love what I'm seeing, like really love every single step of what it's going to feel like. And then at that point, you got to surrender. That's where you just have to surrender, because that's when then it's like this dance, right? This beautiful dance, because then the divine goes, okay, here's the first step.
Yeah.
And then you take that first step.
I really love that. I do see it as a divine dance. It's a co-creation. We do our part, which are all of those steps that you just beautifully spoke of. And then the universe, the divine, comes in and does its part. And it's just this, that's how creation happens. And I really, what I notice in myself is this tendency to think that I have to do it all and I have to do it perfectly or it won't happen. That's the control, and there's that great saying, perfection is the enemy of progress. Because when we think we have to do it all perfectly and that's how it's going to happen, we're not creating the space and the openness for that magic, the divine, to come in and to allow divine grace to flow in.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. I know you and I have had a private conversation about Dancing with the Stars before, because I all of a sudden was sitting there. I had a desire, I was watching the show. I was coaching Anna Trubenskaya, who's actually going to be coming on in a couple of days as well, and became friendly with her. And I'm sitting there watching Dancing with the Stars, and I had this notion. I'm like, you know what? There's never been an actual coach, teacher, author, like in our personal development space, that has been on the show. I would love to do that. Right. And so I get this desire. That's what it feels like when you get this desire. It's like, yes. And I'm leaning into it, not talking myself out of it. Right. Leaning into it. And I contact my PR person. I said, what do you think of that? And she's just like, oh my God, I love it. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to be as well known as like an Emmett Smith or, you know, a big football player or movie star or rock star, you know, how are people going to vote for me? Right. And so I'm like, what do I have to do to be that next level, you know, to get as much notice as I can from the judges and, you know, kind of be strategic in this. And I was like, well, I have to start dancing. Right. I have to start dancing. And so I started getting dance lessons and I was enjoying the dance lessons. And when we were living in Montreal and Scottsdale, you know, I would dance in Montreal with one person, come to Scottsdale and start a whole different experience with someone else. And when I got to Scottsdale on a, you know, set me up at a dance studio that they were all into like competing and all this. And Dominic was my dance instructor, and he was pushing me. He goes, if you want to be on Dancing with the Stars, you've got to be in a competition. And I went and I mean, I worked my butt off for the week prior to getting into this competition. And that night it was like from 6 o'clock until 11 o'clock. And I had to do 25 dances because I had 5 dances that I had to do 5 times.
Oh my God.
Marci, I was so exhausted. I could barely stand up at the end of the night. And I was like, I still had dances to do. So I had to get it up. Right. And I remember walking in the house and I felt like I was hit by a Mack truck. I was just like, oh my God. And the next day too, every bone, every muscle, I won. I won my little competition for my category.
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
got a little trophy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the next day I asked myself, okay, if I was to go on Dancing with the Stars, that's like a 3-month commitment. That would mean being away from my family. That would be me away from what I do. And I love, you know, teaching and healing and coaching and, you know, and training and all that. And I just realized I'm like, it's no longer my desire. And I literally let it go at that point. And I think a lot of people are afraid that if they have a desire and they start moving towards it and it just doesn't feel that good anymore, they keep pushing towards it, right? Not giving themselves permission to realize, you know what, that used to be my desire, but it's not anymore. The desire changed, right? And you kind of had a similar situation because you were there. You were about to be that person in our space that was going on Dancing with the Stars. I don't think you've ever shared that with anybody before.
I don't know that I have. Yeah, this was years ago, and just right around when The Secret came out, a little after that. And I was in conversation with going on Dancing with the Stars. You know, the idea of someone from The Secret using the law of attraction to win the Mirror Ball Trophy. And I went there, and I imagined myself on the dance floor, and I realized, you know, I didn't have the passion to do that. It was really more from an ego place and not from a soul calling. And that was I let it go because it wasn't like, oh God, I can't wait to do this. And I want to give my life to this, just like you said. So I think it is important to be able to adjust and let go when it doesn't feel like, you know what, I'm not really aligned with that the way I thought I was. That was maybe coming from a little bit of a different place that's not as true to who I am. And I think that's what becoming clear about your desires does, is it allows you to get true with what feels right to me. And it feels right maybe to the next person. It's not a bad desire to have. It just wasn't mine. It wasn't yours ultimately. So I think that's a really important point to distinguish between the difference between persistence and when it's time to let go. And can I give you an example about that?
I would love for you to do that.
Sergio and I knew that we wanted to get a home in Marin. We'd had a home, then we ended up selling that house. We were renting this fabulous house, but we wanted to buy another home. And we had a clear vision of what it was we wanted. And I looked at 250 houses. And partway along, I thought, am I doing something wrong? You know, here I am, the queen of manifestation, and one of the queens with you of manifestation. What am I doing wrong? And there is a thing called divine timing, I think. And I let go of the desire to some degree. And literally the day I didn't let go of it like I'm not going to do it. I let go of that hold. I have to have it. And I came up with what I call plan B. And my plan B was I'll go somewhere else. We'll go somewhere else temporarily. And then, which is what we did. We got a little temporary place that we loved. And the day we moved into the temporary place, we found our house. And so there is it's like this letting go, for me at least, has been a theme of holding on. Now, I knew though that wasn't to let go of the desire. It was to let go of the hold on the timing. So I think there's an important distinction between letting go of timing and letting go of the desire itself. Sometimes you let go of the desire itself, like we both did with Dancing with the Stars. And sometimes you just let go of the timing.
Yeah.
And you just say, in perfect timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you get a little bit more information or you learn other things, kind of like what I did with Dancing with the Stars. I had a desire, we kind of in the last year and a half, have been talking to my parents who are elderly, and my mom just turned 85, my dad's turning 89. And we've been kind of talking to them about, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay in this house? Do you want to go to a retirement community? What do you want to do? And neither one of them knew what they wanted to do. So I had this divine idea to, buy a bigger property, sell their house, our house. We love our house, but, buy a bigger house and have them in like a guest house. Right. And I thought about that. I talked to my husband about it and he's like, oh my gosh, that's great. We talked to my parents about it. They were all about it. Right. We put their house on the market. We had this plan. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what I was thinking. I thought maybe I had two totally different parents, but we started seeing behaviors of my mom and dad bickering together, yelling at each other, the way I grew up, and thought that had been different. And so, came to my parents and said, we have a concern. We don't want this on our property. We don't want to hear you guys. We don't want this negative energy. And they're like, oh, we'll be good. Not even aware that they're doing it. How can you have a change of behavior when you're not even aware you're doing it? I mean, that's the first step of transformation, right? And so it ended up, we took their house off the market and found out information that my dad is still yelling at my mom and my mom is still bickering at and yelling at my dad. And I'm like, no, this is not going to be, I don't want my kids to see that. They've had the pleasure of, growing up in a family where my husband and I are respectful and kind and loving to each other. Right. And so it's something that, again, another desire just had to let go of because we gathered more information. And as you're moving along a desire and you're gathering information, it like either excites you and you go, yes, it's like another like spiritual breadcrumb, right? It's like you take that breadcrumb and you go, oh, yes. Or you take it like I did with the dancing. Oh, this did not feel good, right? No longer a desire. Or maybe it's like you think it has to happen now, right? It has to happen in our own timing because we almost bought a house. We put an offer on a house that where my parents would have been in a casita next to us. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, because
you didn't get the offer.
As we were drafting the someone came in with a cash offer and we didn't get it. And this house had been on the market. Nobody had made an offer. And so I'm like,
here's the thing, that saying, rejection is God's protection. I think that's what happened.
Totally.
Somebody swept in, of course, and you didn't get it. And hallelujah.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I would now be living in a house with my parents arguing, and we would probably hear them arguing in the casita next to us.
Right.
So I was like, oh, thank you. But in the moment, right? In the moment when that news happened, I was so upset. I was, what? And I said, wait, no, okay, I got to process my frustration. I got to process my, my disappointment, right? And process that. And then I said, okay, I said this or something better. I kept saying this or something better. And then I went, ooh, if it's not this, it's going to be so much better.
Oh,
right?
Great. I love it.
And it's like, and now it's clear. We don't want to do that.
I love it, Christy. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
What was the desire in you that said, I want to write the desire factor? Like, where did that come from?
Well, I love that you're asking me that. I had a desire manifest, which, I wrote about in the desire factor about a purse and being in Venice and everything. And the moment I had that desire completed, I achieved it, right? And I'm basking in this moment of holding this Dolce & Gabbana purse. It came down, like a voice said, that is so materialistic. And I was like, oh, no. This was an amazing journey. This is an amazing experience. Who I became just to attain this was incredible. How can this be materialistic? And of course, all of my books have been channeled through me. They all download through me. And that day, the desire factor was born. The idea of it, the whole thing. And then it sat. because it didn't have the momentum anymore. It had the initial momentum. I
Yep.
was writing, and then it sat. And I didn't feel anything to continue to move forward. So I just trusted that. Because other times it's like with quantum success, it's like go, 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 move, 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 move. This was like you're sitting on it. And what happened and transpired from that time to now was the council came through me. And when the council came through me, and now I know who wrote this book. These are my stories, but these are the council steps. I didn't have these steps. I mean, I had pieces of the puzzle, but I didn't have them in the exact order, right? So I started channeling the council, and they started guiding me, and things in my business, I mean, in my relationships, like everything just started going because I started following these steps. And so then it was like, okay, get pen and paper because here it comes. And it was like step one. And that's just how it happened. And then because of the momentum of now it's time. So like you're saying, it's the timing, right? If I would have 3 years ago said, okay, I've got this idea for another book, it's coming through me, even though there's no energy there anymore, I got to keep pushing towards it. It would have been a completely different book, a completely different experience. And I guarantee that the resistance that I had to push my way through, I wouldn't have brought in the council because I would be holding too much resistance.
Well, thank goodness you listened to the council, because the council, I will say, the council did an amazing job in this book. And the council was very wise to use you to have it come through as the vehicle. So I love the desire factor. I am sharing it with everybody, telling everybody you've got to read this, because this is, I love the idea of having your cake and eating it too. There is a really good thing. One of my teachers used to call it 200% of life. We get 100% of the spiritual life and 100% of the material life. Oh. And the reality is that they go together. And that's what you're saying. That desire that you have for that for the great things in the world has to do with you also becoming clearer and clearer about your essence and who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Marci.
You rock it, Christy.
Well, you're amazing. And I appreciate you being my mentor, because many years ago I said, hey, you hit the New York Times. Do you mind spending some time with me? And you started with even, okay, pick the date that your book is going to come out by getting an astrologer. And Marci, I didn't tell you this, but I had 2 different astrologers for this book that both picked the same date.
Oh, then it's really spot on. Congratulations. I love it.
Jungian and Vedic, 2 different kinds of theories of astrology. And this was, the book was ready to come out in the fall, but they were like, nope, it's spring. It's a spring book. It's got spring colors. It's it's
pretty.
It is. It's got beautiful movement and energy in it. So,
yeah, so great energy.
Everybody go to thedesirefactor.com/Marci. I have it in the notes, MARCI. And we also have a special if you get 10 books. And why would you want to get 10 books? Because you can give this book away to family and friends. They're great gifts. And I'll actually sign them. We have a book plate that I can send to you. And so if you want to give it to a friend, I can sign whatever you want to your friend or family member's name. And you just have to let us know and we'll get that to you. But if you got 10 books, you actually get 12 group sessions, healing sessions with the council once every month. So for 12 months. And it's a $3,000 value for $197. So you could donate the books, you can gift the books, you could do whatever you want with the books, but $197, we do one healing session, it's usually $297. So if you're into, yeah, right.
I gotta say, I have had the great honor of getting in these healing sessions with the council, and they are extraordinary. So that is a phenomenal thing, Christy, that you're doing. All you have to do is get 10 books and you get 12 healing sessions. Everybody should do that. Everybody. Absolutely amazing.
So you could go to thedesirefactor.com/10, the number 10 books. So Marci, thank you for what you do in the world. Thank you for being such a light in my life. I started this conversation today saying that I am so grateful for the people and the quality of people that I have and the quality of relationships I have. and you are right up on top of that list. I am so grateful for you. And thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for what you do in the world. And thank you for your inspiration.
Thank you, Christy, for being the amazing, wise being of light that you are, and for bringing this beautiful book, birthing it. Congratulations. And I love you in my life. Thank you.
Love you too. Thanks, Marci. Bye, everyone. See y'all
Bye.
soon. Go to thedesirefactor.com/Marci. Bye, everyone.